Hi Pisces, happy early birthday to those of you who celebrate in February, and welcome to your February 2020 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just check out the description of the video for more information on that. As far as what we have in front of us, we have a Celtic cross spread as always. A couple extra cards came up for you there. Then we also have a couple of oracle cards we'll take a look at once we get through that, and also a mudra card. So getting started with the main spread. Main situation position, we got two major arcana cards. You guys got the High Priestess and the Sun. So pretty big contrast between energies, but what comes to mind for me here, this is actually a card that I view as Pisces energy along with the Hangman. So this can just be saying that you guys are just really being intuitive this month, really feeling in your zone in that regard too. Or possibly this could just be saying that you're really just keeping to yourself. But with the sun energy along with that, this could just be as simple as pointing to a timeline, saying that, while the sun is transiting through your 12th house, you just might be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more introspective. But by the time the sun moves into your sign towards the end of February, then you might actually really start to come out, be more vibrant, more playful, more energized too. So that could be what's at play there, especially because basically at the time I'm recording this, Venus just got into your sign, and it's going to be there until I think around the 8th or 9th of February. So through that transit too, that might put you in a bit of a mood to just be a bit more receptive and not really, push things too much, just go with the flow a bit more. And then, like I said, maybe once we get closer to your season, you actually come out a bit more. And for others of you, this can just be saying that maybe on the surface you're trying to keep everything cool, but underneath the surface you actually might be really excited about something. So maybe you might have gotten some news recently, some good news, but you're not ready to share it with everyone just yet. That could be how it's playing out for some of you. And I guess lastly, the last thing I would say here, this could also point to maybe the new moon and Aquarius might bring some news to you guys too, because again, thinking about this as 12th house energy, and then we have the new moon that would move through there. Maybe you get some insight there, possibly even the Leo full moon too, since this can make you think of Leo energy, and there's going to be a Leo full moon in February. So just keep an eye out for those dates in particular. In the challenger obstacle position, we actually have the Judgment card. So this could definitely be pointing to something coming back around from your past. And again, maybe that's, the news you might be keeping secret for now. Maybe you might have received some kind of a judgment on something that turned out in your favor, but you're just keeping quiet about it at this time. Trying to think if anything else comes to mind with this. Well, and maybe that's it too. Maybe you're thinking about your past and whether you want to go back to it or not. And there's going to be a Mercury retrograde in February, and it's going to be in your sign as well. So there's probably going to be quite a few things coming back around from your past. So it could be just as simple as indicating that, and maybe some of you will have something come back around, or someone come back around, possibly a fire sign, because I'm seeing some fire energy here. And maybe you're trying to keep it cool, but maybe underneath the surface you're actually pretty excited that this person has come back into your life, or this opportunity has come back to your life. In the foundation position, we have the Emperor. So this is actually a major arcana card for Aries. So if we look at that, that's your actual house of your second house of finances. So this can be around money. Maybe a financial opportunity might be coming back around for you guys. And like I said, pretty much, especially when the Mercury retrograde takes place in your sign, pretty much anything is possible. So things could come back from the past in almost any area of life. Not to mention the fact that if we think about Aries is ruled by Mars, currently you have Mars in your 10th house of career and social status too. So it could definitely be related to career in some way. And I do have to say, with the Emperor energy, this could even just be saying that maybe some of you have been having some difficulty with a boss in your workplace as well. Because sometimes just having Mars in your 10th house, it can energize that area of life, but it doesn't always necessarily have to mean it's positive. It can also, in some cases, mean that there might be someone that's a bit antagonistic in that environment for you guys as well. But Trying to see if anything else comes to mind with that. Yeah, not really. I'm thinking primarily it could be pointing to finances for you guys for the most part and workplace. All right, in the past position, we have the Nine of Swords. So this is actually a Gemini energy. It represents the middle 10 degrees of Gemini, and that's actually your fourth house too. So this could just be saying that maybe in your home environment you're feeling a bit stressed, maybe losing a lot of sleep, having a lot of anxiety around something. And as far as the timeline, this could even just be going back to the Gemini full moon, which was around mid-December. So, maybe there's something that you've been waiting on since mid-December to hear news about, and maybe this is the month where it's actually finally going to come forward. In the present position, we have the Ace of Pentacles and the King of Wands. So again, we see more fire energy here, and then along with this Ace of Pentacles. So what I always say with the aces in this deck in particular, what always stands out to me is that there's a hand coming out from the cloud, and then it's holding whatever element is represented in the card. So to me, that represents something that's in the idea stage. It's not necessarily something physically being presented to you. So for example, here in the Knight of Pentacles, this would actually, to me, represent an actual offer being made, or the Page of Pentacles as well. Whereas here, it's just, to me, it's a new idea around finances. So this can represent a boss for some of you. This is Leo energy. So you can have a Leo that, let's say, for financial purposes, this could be a boss of yours, possibly a fire sign who's thinking about offering you a pay increase. That's what I would think is most likely given the energies that we've been seeing here, possibly even a promotion. And then for those of you, if this is more on a romantic level, since we did see that sun energy and now we see a Leo energy here, this could just be saying that maybe there's a Leo in your vicinity that's possibly thinking about extending you an offer. And if that's the case, it would most likely be someone you've dealt with in the past. So I would feel like this would be more of a reconciliation than a totally brand new connection. But again, I don't necessarily see them coming forward with the offer just yet, but it definitely at least looks like they have it on their mind. And maybe even that's what this energy that we see here is about too. Maybe you guys are discussing the possibility of it, but nothing's set in stone yet, So it could just be where you guys have reconnected at this point and you are talking, and maybe, there's potential for it to move there, but no one's made a concrete offer just yet. So that could be what's at play there. In the near future position, we have the Tower. So I will say, given all of the major arcana cards we see here in general compared to the cards I'm seeing in this line, I feel like this will be a month where you might just feel like there's a lot of things going on around you, and possibly like you don't have a whole lot of control over what's going on at some points too. But to see this coming up in the near future position, what I always remind people is sometimes this is more, it doesn't always have to be this huge doom and gloom thing, but sometimes it's more like a reality check setting in. So let's say maybe you had this vision of something, whether it be a relationship or maybe where your financial status would be at this point. You had this, idea and this concept that it was a sure thing, right? Like, oh, your career was very stable or your love life is very stable. And then you might have a tower moment that might just show you that, all right, well, maybe there's actually a little bit of cracks in the structure, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that the connection would go away or the job would go away, but it might just show you where there's some problem areas for you to work on. And in general, that could be the case when you have a lot of stuff going through your 12th house too, because that is a time for you to review and really look at things where they can be improved. Then when those transits start to come into your first house, you actually be able to put in that work towards it. So I don't necessarily see indicators here, especially even in your environment. It looks like there's not a lot of movement. So I think this is going to be more like a realization of something that needs to be worked on rather than an actual physical thing taking place. But what I do tell people is, worst case, if you're a little bit worried about seeing this card come up, you could just carry some protection stones with you, like black tourmaline would be a good choice, because this card reminds me of black tourmaline in some ways, but just something to keep in mind there. All right, and in the position of your energy toward the situation, we have the King of Swords. So this is actually an Aquarius energy. And for you guys, that's your 12th house. So again, this could just be pointing to the fact that there's going to be a lot of energy going on in that house for you guys, at least early on in February. Some of it's already taken place now at the time I'm recording this, but yeah. So this could just be saying that maybe you're holding your tongue on certain things. Maybe you're taking a bit of a detached viewpoint, and we could definitely see that to an extent with the High Priestess too, especially with the Sun underneath it too, which is to say that even if you are really excited about something, maybe you're just, really tempering yourself like, okay, let me not jump the gun, right? Maybe for some of you, it could even be because there's the Mercury retrograde coming, so you're like, all right, well, I'm not going to assume that anything is, one way because it could change up on me, right? So maybe you're just trying to take a detached, strictly logical view of things and not really moving forward because the King of Swords is also a fixed energy too, so it's not the type of sign that's going to take a lot of action towards something necessarily unless it knows what the situation is. So that could be what this is pointing to, and this is another indicator for me, for those of you who do watch this before we physically move into the month of February. Just keep an eye out on that new moon in Aquarius, where you might get some insights there, because that new moon in Aquarius is actually going to be square Uranus in your third house of communication. So you might receive some communication or just have an insight around communication around that time. And maybe even keep an eye out for that Leo full moon as well, since we see a couple of indicators of Leo energy. So that would be closer to the middle of February. So maybe you get some news at that point as well. All right, in the environment position, we have the Two of Swords. So this is actually a Libra energy. So for some of you, this can represent that theme that I was talking about, where maybe you have a boss that's considering whether to give you a pay raise or a promotion. Because for you guys, Libra is your 8th house, and 8th house can represent finances from others at times. So that's what makes me think of that. So this could just be saying that they're still undecided. And that might be what you're trying to do too. Maybe you feel like maybe, for example, you applied for a promotion and you're pretty sure that you have it, but you're not really hearing anything, right? So that's, where you're in that High Priestess energy, where underneath it all, you're kind of excited about it, but you're trying to keep yourself calm and not overreact like, okay, let me act like everything's fine, right? Try to play it cool so you don't, jinx it or something. And that could be the way you're acting right now. But this just shows that they're still a bit undecided. So, and again, with the Mercury retrograde, that's not a big surprise, right? So this isn't necessarily a sign of taking action, but it is showing that they're at least considering things and they're trying to, whatever situation this is in, even if it's in a romantic relationship as well. To me, this represents someone who's trying to make a decision that's fair, that's balanced, and they're trying to base it strictly on logic, because to me, the water in the background and also the moon are two indicators of emotion, and they clearly have their back turned on it, right? They have their heart covered up, they have a blindfold, so it's like they're strictly trying to make this decision based on logic. So that could be what you're dealing with, and this could even be saying for some of you that this is the energy you're in because of the environment around you. Again, we mentioned some of the transits that could even have you feeling that way, where you're like, okay, you're not quite ready to move just yet. Hopes or fears position, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So for most of you, I'm going to assume this is a hope. And, well, this represents Virgo energy, so this can point to two things. So for some of you, this could just be saying you're hoping for some stability in your romantic relationships, since Virgo is your opposite sign of romantic relationships and partnerships. For others of you, this can just be saying you're hoping to get that offer, right? Like we were talking about with that Ace of Pentacles. It looks like there's someone considering extending an offer to you, but they're not doing it just yet. And like I said, if I had to point to one reason why that could be the case, I would definitely think it'd be the Mercury retrograde. So it could just be one of those things where through February you might not get the news just yet, but keep in mind and also keep an eye out for the fact that you probably won't receive a no either. So that's the positive thing, right? It could just be that you might have to wait a little bit longer to receive a decision one way or the other. I would say it's leaning towards you probably will hear positive news eventually, but it just might not come this month. Because in the outcome position too, we have the Knight of Swords in reverse. So the Knight of Swords tends to come up a lot for me when we have a month where there's going to be a Mercury retrograde, but usually it's an upright. And to me, that is a big indicator of Mercury retrograde because to me, the horse is moving almost backward, right? If you put it in any position in the spread, he's moving backward, which makes me think of Mercury in retrograde. So the fact that this is coming in reverse, this could just be saying that you might be in a bit of a holding pattern for a while until Mercury goes direct again. So that's why I feel like the Knight of Swords came up in reverse here, which is saying that, you know, you might get that news about forward movement that you're looking for, but you just might have to wait a little bit longer. And then if that's an indicator, like I said, I feel like it would be more when Mercury went direct in March. So, um, which might sound like a long time away given that I am recording this a little bit early, but for those of you who do watch this in February, you'll probably feel like this would resonate, and then you'd be able to say, okay, now I know I'll probably hear a decision in March, which is probably for the best anyway, because if they do jump the gun and give you a decision during Mercury retrograde, then all of a sudden it might suddenly change when it goes direct again, and then you're back at square one. So might be easier said than done, especially if that first scenario I mentioned is the case, where some of you are trying to play it cool, but you're really excited and optimistic about something. But, just try to play it cool, and things should pan out for you guys eventually. It just might take until March. Alright, so moving on to your oracle cards. The first one we have is To Be Fair. It came up in reverse. So it's really rare that I get cards in reverse here, but this is actually the second one that came up reverse this month. I can't remember the ever sign that got theirs in reverse, but there it is in the upright. And the number is 38. So when these cards come up in reverse, they actually have what's called a protection message. So I'll read that one instead for you guys, and we'll see what it has to say. Okay, it says, injustice and inequity are part of life, but they do not have to define your experience. This is a time when you may observe an injustice righted and fairly redressed. Perhaps you come to the rescue of someone else or are called to answer for a personal slight. You will be amazed by the sense of power that surges through you when you stand up for yourself and others. This card also indicates a good time to advocate for others who are less fortunate. Choose your cause and commit to it because you can make a difference. One thing is for certain. If fairness is your intention, the situation will be resolved for the highest good of all concerned through acts of kindness, empathy, and courage. So, I do have to say, that's an interesting message, in my opinion, because maybe that's what that Nine of Swords was about, where I was saying for some of you, I feel like this might be pointing to that full moon in Gemini. So maybe something might have happened around that time, especially since the sun was in Sagittarius. So this is for most of you if this is going to be related to career anyway. So maybe something might have happened in your workplace, right? Maybe you were falsely accused for something, or maybe you were passed up for a raise or a promotion. And this judgment coming up here and all of the other things that we discussed earlier could be pointing to maybe whatever that was, maybe as we do go through the retrograde, given that it's going to be in their sign, that's actually going to give people a different view on what took place. And then that could be what ends up happening, where, anything that might have gone wrong does get corrected. And that could be what this Two of Swords is representing here, too, as far as, this is a Libra energy, and the Libra energy is tied to the Justice card as well. So for those of you who might have felt like something was done unfairly to you, keep that in mind. And like I said, it might just take a little while, but between that and some of the indicators we've seen in the spread, it looks like that would be corrected at some point. And again, that could apply to any area of life too, but hopefully that resonated for you guys. All right, next we have Hummingbird Spirit. It says, be here now. There's the artwork, and the number is 34. And this is from the Spirit Animal Oracle. Alright, it says, the hummingbird's wings beat so swiftly it can hover in seeming stillness as it drinks deeply from a flower. Hummingbird Spirit comes to remind you that the beauty and sweetness of life is in the eternal now. the timeless present. Here and now, you are becoming the person you wish to have the experiences you wish to have. Focus your energy on the flower before you, for what you desire is being provided. Yes, there are blossoms everywhere, the choices can be dazzling. Hummingbird Spirit's message is that you have no need to go about and search for something better, for all that you require and desire is before you. You will notice as you become still, feeling your connection to Spirit who loves you unconditionally and will always provide for you. So that's an interesting message as well, and maybe that's even what that High Priestess energy followed with the Sun is coming to, right? Where maybe it's saying you start to look at things from a different perspective, and then that brings out that Sun energy in you, where you start to feel a lot more gratitude and um, happy about where you're at in a certain situation. Then, like I said, for those of you where maybe you do feel like something was done, you were done wrong in some way, maybe that's even saying to just, sit back, let things unfold, and let the course correct itself over time. So, hopefully, you guys got something from that too. All right. And then lastly, we have a mudra card for you guys. And the mudra you guys got for this month is the Mahashirsha mudra. This is it right here. And the keyword for it is relief. All right, let me see if I can get that to focus a little better. There we go. So, if you guys want to, you could pause it or take a screenshot to read what it has to say. But under benefits, it says relieves headaches, reduces tension in the eyes, breaks up congestion in the frontal sinuses, improves mental clarity. So, that sounds like something that you think would be beneficial for you guys. I will put the name of that mudra in the description of the video as well. We'll wrap up there. Like I said, happy early birthday to those of you celebrating February, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.